The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a magazine and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co. Aaron Young. Aaron Young is a lifelong entrepreneur and trusted advisor for business owners. He's the creator of The Unshackled Owner, a program for entrepreneurs who want to build a business that works harder for them than they have to work for it. Aaron is also the CEO of Lachlan Associates, a 44-year-old company that has helped over 100,000 entrepreneurs start, grow, and profit from their business. The title of Aaron's talk is How to Own Your Business. He has vast experience, Aaron, and not only he has vast experience, he really walks his talk. He has an extremely successful business. He coaches and mentors top leaders all around the world, and he's an extremely generous and honest individual. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in really understand how you can make your business work for you, listen to Aaron. He's a great expert. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Aaron Young.
You know, we are here at The Best You to learn about, health and wellness and exercise and all the things that, relationships, the things that make life enjoyable and fun and worth living. Is that true? That's the promise of this event. And I'm so grateful for Bernardo for creating The Best You. It's been a really fun thing for me to be involved with. This talk specifically, and I noticed a couple people, when they heard it was a business talk, they got up and walked out. And I think that that's fine. But I want you to know that what I'm going to talk about right now for these 45 minutes is going to be crucial for you to actually get the life that The Best You is trying to help you, find connections for. Because without what I'm going to speak about, it's very, very difficult to live as big and as full a life as maybe you're hoping for. How many people are entrepreneurial here? Raise your hands. Pretty much all of you. Okay. For those that didn't raise the hand, I'll tell at least one story that will be, it won't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not. Matter of fact, let me just tell you this. In order to really get the joy and let me be clear. You don't have to be rich to have joy. You don't have to be rich. You can be, I'm sure Mother Teresa in the streets of Calcutta felt joy for the things that she was doing. But is there anybody here who just isn't who's not interested in making money? Okay, we've got two people. That's fair. Who here is interested in making a difference in the world? Doing something that would be interesting and bigger than just your neighbor, just doing something. Okay. You're in the right spot. I learned like most of us do, I learned through a really challenging time. There have been several really challenging times in my life. And you learn as you go through difficult times how important it is to have health, to have relationships, to understand how to take good care of yourself and also how to have wealth. So I'm going to tell you a story. Bernardo alluded to it. I'm going to tell you a very short version of a story. This is typically something that you would only talk to your friends or your clients about. And we don't know each other, so we haven't had time to be friends yet. And I don't think anybody in the room is my client. So I'm going to tell you a personal story, and I hope that it doesn't offend anybody or freak anybody out. I hope instead maybe it can give you a little piece of inspiration or a little something to latch onto based on wherever you might be in your life right now. So I'm going to go through, I'm not going to give you all the backstory. I'm just going to kind of go right to the meat of this, which is basically this. I've done business all over the world for 35 years. I started my first company with a payroll in 1983. 1983, I had my first 3 employees, and I had to make a payroll every other week. I've built lots of companies. I've generally gone like this, but there have been a couple of fatal like that. Anybody ever had one of those, something that didn't work? And maybe you lost a couple of dollars along or a couple of pounds along the way? Yes or no? If you're entrepreneurs, I'm just telling you, our trajectory doesn't look like this, right? It looks like this. So I've done business with a lot of people, a lot of companies. Back in 2002, it was Christmas time, December 27th, 2002, I'm at the ocean we have a home on the beach, so we were down there for the holiday, and I get a call, and the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, have you guys heard of the FBI? Like every movie that comes out with Tom Cruise in it, there's always some FBI, CIA stuff. The FBI was in my office, exercising a search warrant about the owner of one of the companies that we had done business with in years past. We hadn't worked with them for about 3 years, but we had definitely worked closely with them for a couple of years. They were exercising a search warrant. This was a tax-related issue. They were saying that he was helping people avoid taxes. Okay, so I'm on the phone with them, and I said, am I in any trouble? Is this about me in any way? And they said, nope, nothing at all about you, just any documents, any computer records about this other company. We do need the combination to your safe. We need to open your safe, see what's in the safe. Well, I knew I had a bunch of things I didn't want them to be doing the inventory on in my safe. So I said, well, if you can give me 2 hours, I can drive back into the city and I'll open the safe. And they said, great. So I did that. I got in my car, I drove into town, I opened the safe for them. They were very nice to me, very polite, very kind, and very apologetic for disturbing my office, sending my employees home and all this stuff. So they said, if you can just hang out in your office for a minute, we'll get out of your hair. I said, okay. So I go and sit in my office. Pretty soon, one of the FBI agents comes in and says, boy, this fellow that we're investigating has been so, hard to pin down. He's moving around, crossing borders. He's flying in a private plane. Nobody really knows where he is. And, he's been so hard to investigate. Would you mind answering a couple of questions? I said, no, of course, I'll be happy to answer a question. Because in my mind, these are the good guys, and I'd stopped working with this guy because I thought he was a little slippery too. So I'm like, sure, I can answer your questions. So they asked me some what I thought were pretty obvious things, like, do you recognize the logo? Do you recognize the signature? Have you ever seen this document? These were, things you could have answered about a lot of companies, but I did. They asked me questions for a while, and then they thanked me for helping. They left. That was December 27th, without going through all this stuff that happened the next couple of weeks, which basically was me having my lawyer tell me this was a criminal investigation and I should get a criminal lawyer. I got a criminal lawyer, and they said, this will all blow over. You're not in trouble. 4 months later, in April of 2003, I got indicted on criminal conspiracy charges. They said I either knew or should have known what they suspected this other fellow to have done. I either knew or I should have known. Not that I was involved, not that I did anything, knew or should have known. Does that seem wacky to you guys? It seemed wacky to me. And I said, no way. That's insane. So we went to war with the federal government of the United States. And we spent 3.5 years and about $2 million in legal fees fighting this knew or should have known thing. And after 3.5 years and $2 million and no progress, we finally decided to acquiesce to what the lawyers had told us from the very beginning, which is you can't win. The Internal Revenue Service wins 99.5% of any case like this. They can outlast you, outspend you, they'll wear you down, plus they'll be after you for the rest of your life with audits and that sort of thing. So I said, what do we do? And they said, do a plea bargain. We did a plea bargain, agreed to go to prison, and went off to federal prison for 18 months, okay? No restitution, no fines, no problem, just my time. I had to leave my family and go to this place, which, has anybody ever done a dream board here? Anybody ever had a vision board, dream board? Raise your hands. Yes, some of you. Federal prison was never on my vision board. It wasn't something I thought, oh, well, I was getting my little Eagle Scout pinned on my chest when I was a teenager, when I was off being a missionary for our church, when I was doing, federal prison was not part of the plan. It wasn't part of the trajectory that I imagined. But anyway, there I was. So I'm in prison. And it wasn't dangerous. I mean, I never felt physically threatened or anything, but it was boring. It was really boring. There wasn't much to do. And we had this track, this gravel track that was something close to a 1/4 mile oval. And it had some holes, like potholes and little puddles and stuff in it. But we would, because it rains where I was in prison, it rains all the time. So I would spend hours every day just walking the track, walking in circles. And I would feel kind of sorry for myself. Now, you guys, let me ask you, have you ever done that? Have you ever kind of found yourself having a little pity party? Kind of going, this sucks. Like, I don't really like where I am. My shoes are wet. Like, this is not good. This is not what I thought I was going to get out of my life. I'd walk that track, and I go, oh, today's, Max, my kids. It's Max's birthday. Adam's got a football game today. Oh, Zoe has a dance recital today. It's Chase's birthday. It's my anniversary. It's Christmas. And I would walk the track and go, look at everything I'm missing. Look at everything that I'm not getting to do. Look at all the life experiences I'm missing out on because I'm locked up behind this fence. And I kind of sat in that juice for a while. And then one day I'm walking and it occurred to me, yeah, I'm missing stuff, but a lot of my friends are missing stuff too. They're in some meeting in some other city. Their airplane's delayed. They're stuck on the tarmac trying to get back to their kid's birthday. They have to work late tonight because they have that. Do you know what I'm talking about? I've got to be at the store. I've got to go see this customer. Has anybody ever been in that spot? Anybody? Can you guys all hear me out there? I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. It occurred to me that while I was locked in prison, I had a lot of friends that I knew who'd built their own prisons. They'd created walls around themselves and they were missing out on their life. And it was a weird realization for me. And I thought, normally in my life, if I wasn't locked up, I'm at those things. I'd learned early on in my career. As a matter of fact, I started that first company when I was 19. I grew up in the Mormon church. I think you guys are probably familiar with a lot of you with the Mormons, or maybe the Book of Mormon play. It's very funny. Anyway, I grew up in that church and I served a mission when I was 19. So I started this first company, hired these people, had 2 large vehicles out. I was one of the first recycling companies in the Western United States. And we had these 2 big trucks and these 2 crews picking up recycling back before it was done with the rubbish service, About 5,000 customers, and I left and went on a mission. And every day that I was gone, every work day, money went into a bank account, and I was making money every day I was away being a missionary. I learned from that very first business, if you organize things right, they'll keep working even if you're not there. I'm in prison, and I hope this isn't awkward to say, but I think there's a point that will take us into the training I want to give you. That full year that I spent in prison, my take-home pay where I couldn't have one meeting. I couldn't check my email. I couldn't have a phone call. I couldn't do anything. And I had 50 employees, close to 50 employees, over 50,000 customers, significant business that I had bought and fixed. And it worked. In the year that I was in prison, my take-home pay, if you don't count my prison pay, which I think for the year and a half was something like $23 or something. You know, when you're working for 8 cents an hour, it doesn't add up really fast. But my take-home pay from my business activities was $974,000. So what in pounds, that would be somewhere around 700,000. Does that sound about right? 700,000 pounds, about 25% less. So, I mean, I don't tell you that number to try to be impressive or try to be weird, or I don't know what your income is. I'm saying that most of the people I meet, their business wouldn't throw off $1 million take-home pay if they were in prison. Is that reasonable? Yeah.
For complimentary resources from my book, my complimentary e-course, The Power of the Question, or recommended reads, go to www.thequestion.com/resources. For more information on my coaching or mentoring, go to www.bernardo-moya.com.
But that's what happened. So then it was over, and everybody said, can I swear? What the hell? Like, how did your business live? How did you develop these real estate projects? How did you not lose your home? How come you're not broke after a $2 million battle with the government? Like, what happened? How are you still here? How are you still standing? And I was surprised by the question because I knew exactly why I was still standing. It was because we'd built something that didn't need me to operate. It didn't surprise me a bit. That same company now, I haven't had to walk in the door of that company for over 2 years. And yet we grow every year. We've had 7 banner years in a row coming out of the recession. Bigger, bigger, bigger. You could smile and make fun of me, and I think it would be reasonable to say that maybe it works better if I'm not there. It's a reasonable question. And guess what? It probably does. Because most of us as entrepreneurs are not very good at running businesses. We're really good at coming up with cool ideas. We're really good with like rallying people around, but most of us are not really very good managers. And the company will never grow beyond our individual ability to be inspired and to have time to lead and direct and delegate. If once we reach the level of our competency, this is all I got. This is everything I know. That's where the company will stick if you're always the smartest person in the company. So what I want to do is just give you 3 things to consider and to think about as you leave here. If you can get these 3 things started in your life, you will find that you will be able to grow whatever it is you're working on much more rapidly. You'll be able to retain your employees longer or start adding employees properly. And you'll be able to get, and these are such trite sayings, but I'm going to use them anyway. You'll get the time freedom as well as the money freedom. I know a ton of people who have a lot of money, who drive a nice car, who live in a nice home, who are very successful, and you know about their company and you see them and they go, oh, that person's a millionaire, or whatever you say about them, and they have no life. Have you ever met anybody like that? I know it seems like for most entrepreneurs, the more successful they get, the less life they have. And if anybody's been there that's in this room, you know what I'm talking about. You know how everything seems right, and you're like, where did I miss? Because I can't go, you go to the beach, you go on some nice vacation, you go to somewhere, name a place, and Everybody's like, hey, we're going to go out to the pool, or hey, we're going to go on this excursion. Somebody was telling me this yesterday at my booth. He said, and I'm the guy sitting there telling my wife, in this case, he said, I've got to finish this code before I can go. Or I've got to finish it and upload it before I can go. You know, he said, I'm completely shackled. I can never be away from my cell phone or my laptop for very long because too many things are depending on me. Too many people are depending on me. So that's what I call shackled. Matter of fact, let me give you the entrepreneurs. I meet tons of entrepreneurs, tons, many, many thousands every year. Most of them fall into 3 categories. First category is the dreamer. The dreamers are the ones that have a cool idea, have a big hope, want to change the world, want to save the whales, want to do something. They have a cool idea, or they've been negatively impacted by something bad has happened in their life. They've become awake, and they want to do something to fix it. And they're going to start a certain kind of clinic, or a certain kind of outreach, or a certain kind of, they're going to go into therapy, or they're going to be a therapist. Maybe both. But they want to save the world. But they spend a lot of time going to events, buying courses, reading books, always preparing, but never starting, never selling something. You guys, now nobody in this room's ever been that person, right? I'm sure that's true. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about. But most entrepreneurs I've met have been a dreamer at some point. And I meet a lot of people, unfortunately, that never get out of that zone. They're constantly studying, but they're never they're reading about how to ride a bicycle, but never getting on the bicycle. Those are the dreamers. Then there's the doers. The doers are who we see all the time. They've got a bunch of booths out here. They've got shops all along the streets. They're the ones coming over to paint your house or fix the electrical or put up your web page or walk your dog or whatever. These are people that are doing something. They're engaging with the public. They're collecting revenues. Some of them are not just consuming all the money. They're reinvesting in the business. They're trying to scale. They're trying to get that employee or 4 employees or 20 employees because their service is catching on. People like what they do. They're engaged in business, right? We all know those people, right? Yes? There you go. I'm used to American audiences, which basically shout you down if you ask a question. Like everybody wants attention in America. Me, yes. Okay. Sorry. So there's the dreamers. There's the doers, which is a lot of people. Then there's the prisoners. They're the ones who now the business has successful but taken over their life. I talked about them a minute ago. There's a tiny group that I call unshackled, meaning they're no longer the most critical employee in the business. They've built something that transcends them, and now they're the owner. They own it. They can do things in it. They can use their genius and do things to improve or create content or deal with big contracts or whatever. But they can also go away. In my case, for 1.5 years, and still have not only the company do well, but to bring in a lot of money. It's not magic and it's not luck that creates that. It's being very, very specific. So here are the 3 things I want to talk to you about. If you're going to take notes, now's the time. Number one, these are 3 critical areas that entrepreneurs need to master in order to become truly successful. That's financially and time. And that time will give you more time to travel or to work out or to make your green smoothies in the morning. Okay? 3 things you need to get really, really good at. 1, target. This is 3 T's. I'm going to give you target, team, and trust. But first is target. Virtually no one that I meet, even if they're very successful, if I say, can you define for me the finish line? How do you know when you are a success? How do you know exactly what it is that you were dreaming of, that you finally got it? Because almost all the business owners are just trying to make the next sale. Keep revenue coming in because they have bills. They may have employees, so they've got payroll or health insurance or whatever expenses are prevalent. And then they've got their mortgage or rent, and they've got their whatever, all their bills, all their life. So they're just working to be profitable. They're just trying to make money. company. And if you want to scale and grow, if you want to build an empire, then you have to have people that you're working with to identify the deals and to put together pro formas for investors and to help you with the legal things and help you with the reconstruction or providing a service. If you're by yourself,